We welcome back Pennsylvania Senator Pat Toomey, ranking member of the Banking Committee. Mr. Toomey, welcome back, sir.
Hey, Larry, thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, Biden launched one heck of a speech today. I want to play a couple of sound clips.
Oh, please.
Yeah, I know. It's painful, believe me. But it gets after that. He's talking about Social Security and Medicare. You know the old saw, Republicans are going to destroy Social Security and Medicare.
Yeah.
Here, if you could just take a listen, let's play this one.
Sure.
The other ultra-MAGA Republicans are going to vote on whether you'll have Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. It's unlikely they'll be able to wipe it out. They've always wanted to cut Social Security. They've always wanted to cut Medicare. They've always wanted to cut Medicaid.
So what do you think about that? They've always wanted to cut. You know, this is like this old Democrat mantra that they always try to cook up. But here he goes again. What you think, Senator Toomey?
Larry, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the Social Security program is going on, 90 years old or something like that. Republicans have been in and out of office for a pretty good portion of that time. Did we ever wipe out Social Security? It's so ridiculous, but it's dishonest. I mean, honestly, President Biden is so divorced from reality now. I guess it's no wonder his approval ratings are below 40. The idea that he's responsible for a reduction in the deficit, I mean, talk about a rooster taking credit for the sunrise. It's worse than that, as you point out. He has been even to this day, he is advocating another blowout spending bill on top of all the wildly excessive blowout spending bills he already was for, many of which he got. This is just unbelievable. But, you know, the American people aren't fooled. And I don't know what it'll take for him to recognize reality.
Let me read you another terrific soundbite from this speech in Philadelphia. He's talking about taxes, MAGA taxes. Take a listen, please, Senator.
Republicans in Congress are still in the grip of the ultra-MAGA agenda. They still refuse to consider changing any part of the Trump tax cuts, which delivered massive windfalls to billionaires and others, and they weren't paid for. They still refuse to consider a minimum corporate tax of 15% minimum tax. They seem to think that the problem in America today is that working families aren't paying enough.
Billionaires and others, Senator Toomey.
Oh, Larry, it's just absolutely unbelievable. What happened after we did the tax reform of 2017? Well, American multinationals reinvested literally over $1 trillion that was held overseas, came pouring into the U.S. We saw unemployment hit record lows. Wages were growing, and they were growing faster than inflation, unlike today. Corporate tax revenue collection is up. It's coming in at a record high. And meanwhile, in the course of the changes we made on the individual side, we shifted more of the burden to upper income people. The top 1% of wage earners make about 20% of the income, pay about 40% of the income taxes. That's what our tax reform did. Gave us the best economy of my life, record low unemployment, accelerating wage gains. And of course, for some reason, Joe Biden can't tolerate any of that, so he wants to undo it. It's no wonder the cavalry's coming in the fall.
You know, it's just so annoying, okay? You and I have been around. We look at numbers, okay?
Yeah.
And he just spouts these falsehoods as certainties. And look, his staff has given him this stuff. You know that. He's traveling with a mobile teleprompter. I mean, it's just, they're just feeding him stuff that ain't true.
Here's the question, Larry, that I pose to my Democratic colleagues. If you look at the actual consequences of our tax reform right up until the pandemic hit, tell me anything that could have gone better. What did you want to go better? We had a surge in investment in the U.S., record low unemployment, strong asset prices, low inflation, wage gains fastest among the lowest income Americans. Tell me which thing went wrong. They can't come up with anything, and yet they want to throw the whole thing out. It's absurd.
Yeah, the poverty rate went down. The inequality rate went down. I mean, it was a big victory. I got another one for you, Senator. I mean, you know, this is wonderful having you back so I can throw all this wonderful stuff at you for your responses. This is, I don't know, Bloomberg. Biden ally floats a 21% surtax on oil profits to blunt inflation. This is your friend, Senator Ron Wyden, your friend and mine. I've known him for many years. Yeah. He wants let's see, profit margin better than 10% would face a new federal surtax under Wyden's plan. That would give you a 21% corporate tax and a 21% surtax for a total of 42%. Now, I thought if you tax production, you get less production. That's the way I learned it. But this doesn't seem to fly. What do you make of this one?
Just another terrible. I mean, I like Ron Wyden, but he doesn't run out of really bad tax ideas, let me tell you. So I guess what we could do is just completely shut down and discourage all new production in the U.S. That appears to be the goal. And then the president can go on yet another tour of the Middle East and wherever else he needs to go to beg them to develop more energy because we won't do it here. How ridiculous is that?
You know, it's interesting, though. Janet Yellen up on the Hill last week, okay? Now, there was a lot of attention paid to her apology tour as part of their inflation apology tour, and we showed it many times, what I call the hostage video when she apologized. But here's the thing, Senator. She was arguing in favor of Biden's FY23 budget. This didn't get enough attention. And in that budget, as you well know, that's where the new version of Build Back Better is, which the CBO priced out at about $5 trillion. And on top of that, 36 tax increases, 11 of them on energy, fossil fuels, for a total of $3.5 trillion in tax hikes. Now, she was arguing for that on the Hill in defending his budget. Can you imagine if that ever went through?
Oh, my goodness, the damage that would do. I don't know. I mean, Janet Yellen's got to be looking forward to when she can move on from a role where she has to defend that sort of thing. I mean, it's just so obviously the wrong direction for the country. But, you know, that's what they think. You know, the main mantra is, you know, don't stand there, spend something. And after they've spent trillions, they just want to spend trillions more. It's unbelievable.
Or if it moves, tax it. Last question, sir. You're a banking guy, so the Fed's going to have to really be aggressive now. These latest inflation reports are pretty terrible, CPI and the PPI. Is this all going to culminate in recession? Is that where this is leading?
I mean, I think things are increasingly pointing that way. I don't know if we've tipped to the point where it's more than 50% probability, but we may have between, you know, rising interest rates. You look out the yield curve. I mean, the 10 years closing in on 3.5%. The dollar is stronger. The curve is inverted. There's corporate margins are squeezing. So it's starting to look increasingly like that's the way this is going to end. And that's the price we're going to pay, apparently, for this wild, excessive spending.
If we had a Republican Congress, which I think is coming, but if we did, you know the Fed's got to do, you know, they're way behind the curve. Rates have been too low for too long. Okay, so they're going to have to be tough. Why not use this moment to cut taxes and deregulate? That's what I would suggest.
Well, but if you did that, it would validate what some of us have been saying all along, and some of our friends on the other side are more heavily invested in repudiating that idea than they are in getting a good outcome. The first thing we ought to do is make the 2017 tax reform permanent.
Right.
It was working so well. Can you imagine? That alone would be enormously constructive for the economy. If you cut spending and then rolled back these ridiculous, especially in the energy space, but it goes beyond that. The regulatory overreach is just doing enormous damage. You know, but Larry, people are seeing this. They have got this figured out, and that's why you are correct when you said the cavalry's coming.
I hope so. I sincerely hope so. Senator Pat Toomey,
I believe so.
Thank you for your time, sir. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You bet.